took me like 6 years or so after reading the books for the first time to realize that Hogwarts literally means warts of a hog/pig.
And it took you telling me that this is what the name means for me to realize. So I'm not better in that regard.
Yeah. Fair warning to our listeners. This episode is mostly us complaining about all sorts of little details.
We are gonna complain a lot about the details, about all the little details in these books. So consider yourselves warned.
Welcome to Tea and Toffees, your weekly VTuber podcast. Hello, I'm Neitshayd, your local undead demon.
And hi, I'm Cecilia. I was a witch in my previous life.
Today's topic is... Are
you not going to continue?
Alright. Today's topic is... It is... I can't!
It's Harry Potter.
Yes, that.
Harry Potter.
Right, okay. This is going to be a multi-episode series about our love-hate relationship with the Harry Potter franchise. Books, movies, some of the games, Fantastic Beasts eventually, maybe. We're not going to do all episodes in a row, so if you don't want to listen to us rant about the series for some reason, don't worry. Next week is going to be something else.
But if you want to listen to us doing exactly that, nitpick all the little details, then you can look forward to a future episode. Or future episodes, I should say.
This episode covers chapters 1 to 6. Why does that will be explained in a moment. But first, are we going to talk about the elephant in the room?
You mean the author?
Yeah, the author. Nah, we're not going to talk about she who must not be named, you know who.
Nah.
So, actually, since this is going to be a longer series of episodes, I'd like us to create a little magical profile about ourselves, one question per episode. Like signature spell and favorite professor and so on. Obviously, for the first episode, it's going to be short and simple. What house would the Sorting Hat have sorted you in, Cecilia?
Hufflepuff.
And I'd have been a proud Slytherin.
I think we already established that in the last episodes, or in the previous episodes we did, that I'm a Hufflepuff and you're a Slytherin.
We certainly mentioned it in passing. So, our opinion of Harry Potter, we kind of spoiled that a little bit already, but...
Yeah.
Cecilia, why don't you go first?
Okay. Honestly, I don't really know what to think of Harry Potter. I watched the films a lot, like a lot. Basically every time they were on TV. And we also had the DVDs, so I sometimes watched those when I felt like it, because, well, magic. And yeah, how could I just not love watching these films? I could dream about having my witch powers again. You know? Who wouldn't want to do that? But there's not much nostalgia for me. Most of the films were already out when I watched the first one, and I didn't grow up with the books or anything. So, yeah. And I also distinctly remember that I found the third film very confusing, and that I could not make sense of the confrontation in the Shrieking Shack. It was like, I don't get what's going on screen. But I think it was still one of my favorite movies, even though I didn't know what was going on. It was, yeah. I haven't watched the films in a while, so I can't really say if I still love them or not, but I know I'm not as fond of them anymore as I was when I was younger. As for the books, I first read them while I attended university, and I read them in English, of course.
I remember that. We had just started getting to know each other back then when you were reading them for the first time. So I could watch you do it.
Yes, you could. And now I'm reading them again. And I find that I already forgot some things. Mostly things that are different from the films and stuff to nitpick. There's a lot of that in the books. Especially like now that I know more about the terrible world building and how much the films don't make sense, I can't say I would want to watch them on most days, honestly. I would just be annoyed at all the stuff they changed for no obvious reason or what they left out. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
It's similar, but also completely different for me. My relationship with the Harry Potter series is a deeply entwined duality of love and hate, basically. I did not grow up with those books because I did not grow up in this world. There is no nostalgia for me, but I was aware of their existence, and my first time reading them did happen many, many years ago, after having seen some of the movies in, well, your mother tongue, Cecilia, and thinking to myself that they made no sense whatsoever. But yeah, I read the books in English, of course, because, well, what else would I do? And I did love them so very much back then. I do remember loving those books, but I can no longer recall the feeling. I remember reaching a point where I held so much love for them, had consumed the books and so much and ventured so deep into the fandoms. Yeah, I loved those books so much that all that was left for me to discover were the flaws. So many flaws.
Yeah, a lot of them.
But yeah, well, I loved those books, and I can confidently say that they are not well written at all. They're terrible. Even taking the terribly annoying, exceedingly arrogant protagonist out of the picture, and well, I hate most protagonists, so I'm used to that. The world building, the characters, the plot, it's also very poorly written. Harry Potter is rubbish. It's trash. There, I said it. It only got so popular because there was no competition at the time.
Yeah, I can see that now. I keep finding so many contradictions and stuff that doesn't make sense. And I don't really like the writing style. I don't know if I would read the books again if it weren't for the podcast. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. If I would have decided to read them again, I wonder if I would have managed to read all of them, to stick with them through the end, or if I would have gotten annoyed to the point that I would have stopped. We will never know.
Yes, I can say that. It's been so long since I read these books. I used to do a yearly reread, but then, well, started to hate them more and more every time I read through them. My last reread, I stopped in the middle of book 5, which is my least favorite, so understandable.
Yeah.
No, wait, was it book 4? Oh, see, I can't even remember which one I stopped in. I only remember that it was my least favorite, but I don't remember which one was my least favorite. But I think it was book 5 because Harry is so annoying in book 5.
I think you said to me previously that it is book 5.
Yeah. It's like book 5 is too long. Whatever the editor did, it was not doing his job or their job. And Harry is just the worst. Worse than usual. He's always worse, terrible. Anyway, so how are we even going to do this? Talk about the magic system and world building? The former is basically non-existent and the latter is terribly bad.
Then how about neither?
Discuss characters? I hated the protagonist and his friends before I started hating the books.
So not that either.
LGBT plus representation? There is none in the books. Claiming that Dumbledore is gay on Twitter and actually writing Dumbledore as gay in the books are two different things. Sure, there are hints that could be interpreted that way, but that does not count.
There are also hints that Dumbledore is a crazy old man.
Hints? I think that there's evidence for that. He is.
Yes, there is.
So we could do it chapter by chapter, but that's been done by almost every single Harry Potter podcast out there, and we're not a Harry Potter podcast. And, well, I could do a whole episode about every single issue I have with just chapter 1 of volume 1 all on my own. But I don't want to. So I'll have to hold back.
Yes, please do that. Please hold back for the sake of our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, well, this is going to be us complaining about whatever caught eye in each chapter. So it is a chapter by chapter, after all.
Yeah.
We are not sorry.
No, we are not. Hey, okay.
All right.
Book 1, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
It's been a while. Quite a while. Several years, in fact. I don't remember all the details I used to remember. I'll most likely get stuff mixed up and some details wrong, but these episodes are mostly going to be made up of chaotic, nitpicky complaining anyway. It's not like it matters.
Exactly.
Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived. Isn't The Boy Who Lived a title the wizarding public gives their child savior later on?
Otherwise, it would have been The Baby Who Lived, wouldn't it? Or The Baby That Lived? Would sound better, at least.
Makes me wonder about writing choices.
Yeah.
Alright, so chapter 1 reads like a children's story, which it is. It's just a bit odd in comparison to the later books. You know who also can't seem to decide in chapter 1 what style to use? You start whimsical, get into more neutral ground, and when Dumbledore shows up, the writing gets super whimsical again.
I came from reading Heaven Official's Blessing, and the writing style is obviously rather different, and I needed to get used to the Harry Potter writing style. It just felt weird at first, and now I still don't like it. So it didn't get any better.
It's ignoring the first chapter. It's not that, well, it's not good, but it's not bad either.
Yeah.
It's mediocre. But the first chapter is really odd. It's the odd one out. Also, Chinese Danmei does have a rather unique style when you're used to Western literature. But even compared to the rest of the book, chapter 1 is odd, so...
Yeah.
So, we begin this chapter with the Dursleys, a perfectly normal family, thank you very much. And we get to know from page 1 that the Dursleys are not pretty and not nice. It's a theme with you-know-who, that evil equals ugly and ugly equals evil. And pretty people are good people.
Just look at how the description of Sirius changed over the course of the books. It's like, yes, ugly people are evil and good people are always pretty. And the Dursleys being ugly did not come as a surprise to me. What did come as a surprise to me is that Mr. Dursley is actually the director of a drill making firm. I knew that Vernon sold drills, but director? How did he get that position? It implies that he is intelligent enough to do that job, and I never was the director of a firm.
Only the boss of a crime syndicate.
So I don't know how much brain juice one would need for that, but I imagine you would need to be intelligent to be the director of a firm. And Vernon Dursley doesn't come across as overly intelligent. At least I never got that impression.
Actually, I think that might be because of you watch the movies more than reading the books, and I'm the other way around.
Yes.
He's very narrow-minded, but reading about him, I don't think he's as stupid as Harry describes Dudley to be. And I actually found his job very fitting for him.
Yeah, I think it is kind of fitting, but it just surprised me. I mean, maybe there's more. I mean, maybe I will learn more and see that, yeah, he does have a certain amount of intelligence, and being the director of a firm, then it would...
It's not like he's important in the first place.
Yeah. So moving on.
This chapter is, well, the writing style itself is odd, but it's also odd perspective-wise, because we start off from Mr. Dursley's perspective, then swipe to a more generalized narrator when the wizards come in, and it's weird. So, we watch Vernon go to work. There's a cat that is definitely not reading a map, weird people everywhere, the cat is still there when he returns home, and it is overall a rather strange day.
Yeah. McGonagall being a cat and reading maps and signs. Imagine Toffee being capable of reading. Would she enjoy reading along with us? Would she be slower than us? Would she get in the way? It's
Toffee darling is a very lazy cat.
Yeah.
I don't think she would enjoy reading as much as we do.
Yeah, she would. Yeah, she just lies next to us and sleeps. Probably she would do the same even if she could read, most likely. Anyways, yeah, Vernon has to suffer a morning traffic jam. I can't sympathize, to be honest, because I don't drive to work myself. I let someone else do the driving and just read and listen to music. Much better.
One has a driver for that, as the boss of a crime syndicate.
Still not a mafia boss. Vernon also buys himself a donut for lunch, and donut. It's donut and not donut. You know. Sorry,
what?
Audio only listeners.
What?
Yes, I know donut is a legitimate way to write it, and it's a traditional way, but I still don't like that spelling.
That's not.
Could you please stop laughing? I'm sorry once again, dear audio only listeners. You I mean, if you're listening to that on Spotify, there is a video feed on Spotify as well. So maybe you should look at that to get why Neitshayd is laughing at me.
Implying that I'll edit that in.
Won't you?
I will.
Okay.
So the spelling dough and nut actually makes sense if you ask me. And it is the older one, which means it is more legitimate. In fact, doughnut is recognized everywhere, while the alternative spelling of D-O-N-U-T seems to be an US American thing.
No, that is unacceptable. I refuse to acknowledge that.
All of this over donut.
Yes, I do care about my donuts. Donuts tend to be delicious.
Anyway. So, Mr. and Mrs. Did I write Petunia?
Yes. Yes, you did. Yes, you did indeed.
Mr. and Mrs. Petunia.
Now I can laugh at you for a change.
Mr. and Mrs. Dursley are now safely tucked into their beds, and it is time for the magic to happen. A mysterious man, looking like your stereotypical wizard, appears and, hello, put outer.
Did you know who forget that she called it put outer in book 1? Because later it's the Illuminator, right?
Well, the Illuminator sounds better. The put outer thing got conveniently forgotten and never mentioned again.
Yes, yes. As suspected with this author. As expected.
Alright. So we meet Albus Dumbledore for the first time. And the cat that was definitely not reading a map turns out to be a witch by the name Minerva McGonagall. And the two of them have a little chat that explains everything the reader needs to know and more. Which, Sherbet Lemon is one of Dumbledore's office passwords, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. I think all of his passwords are sweets, at least if I remember correctly.
More magical than Muggle, though.
Yeah.
I think Sherbet Lemon might even be his favorite sweet.
I think so too, yes. Hey. And I get Harry not growing up knowing he's famous. I get that, McGonagall, but she saw that this place wouldn't be a good fit to place Harry. But then she just stops protesting about leaving him there, like, really fast, and she never checks up on him, does she? She could have just visited as a cat during the summer holidays or something like that. Why didn't she?
Yes, she could have paid Harry a visit any time.
She probably just asked Dumbledore whether or not he had a good life at the Dursleys and but simply chose to believe in the reassurances Dumbledore must have given her.
Seems likely. Lots of exposition and giving us all the necessary information Harry won't get to know until later, right in Chapter 1. Thanks, Dumbledore.
Thanks, Dumbledore. He even gets asked if Voldy is really gone, and he answers with, "It certainly seems so," because he knows Voldy isn't dead. He knows about the Horcruxes, or suspects something, at least. We get foreshadowing.
Doesn't he tell Harry that he only figured the Horcrux part out when Harry brought him the destroyed diary?
I said he might have at least suspected something.
Yeah, something, but I don't think it was the Horcruxes.
That's why I said something. He suspected something, at least.
Enter Hagrid.
Yeah.
Hello, Sirius Name Black. A Sirius Black name drop from Hagrid. Sirius Name Black drop.
Yes. And what are the comparisons the author makes here? Like, the dustbin lids for Hagrid's hands are fine. They are fine. But feet the size of baby dolphins? As if I would know how big baby dolphins are. It's like, why would I know how big baby dolphins are? So I have no clue how big his feet are.
Well, it's whimsical.
Yeah.
Okay. More importantly, how did news of Voldy's defeat travel so fast? How can everyone be sure he's truly gone? Where was Harry between the night of Voldy's defeat and the night he was abandoned on a doorstep in late autumn?
And how long did it take for Harry to arrive at his new home after Voldy killed his parents? What happened in the meantime? Because the Wizards celebrate an entire day. They celebrate when Vernon goes to work, doing his lunch break, and they also celebrate on the news, and only during the night does Hagrid arrive. Did the bike ride take that long? I don't know geographics and couldn't be bothered to look it up, so I don't know how long it would take on a flying motorbike, but I can't imagine it taking that long, you know? And was he just in that house all day? And how does the motorbike not wake everyone up? Because it is described as being rather loud. And does the bike have lights? Because Dumbledore, he took care to put out the lights with the put-outer, but then Hagrid arrives with a bloody loud motorbike that potentially has lights on it. And how does that make any sense? And also, it's November. It's freaking cold outside in England at that time of the year. Did Harry have a warming charm on him during the flight or something? And Hagrid wouldn't have been allowed to put it on him because technically he isn't allowed to do magic. And when was the last time Harry ate something? Because Hagrid got him out of the house, and I don't think he would have, food suitable for a 1-year-old. And how did Dumbledore and Hagrid even communicate with each other? And how did the Wizards even know that Voldy vanished in the morning when Harry only got taken to the Dursleys in the following night, when that should have really been one of the first things that got done? And also, what if Harry hadn't turned and grabbed the letter? What if it had flown away? What if it had started to rain? Or Harry could have drooled on it. He's 1 year old after all. And then the Dursleys wouldn't have been able to read the letter at all. There's so much I don't understand and don't get.
Now I'm imagining Harry drooling on his letter.
Yes.
Spit everywhere.
Rolling on it, it's bitten everywhere. And then the Dursleys just open the door in the morning. The postman would probably have noticed the baby first, because I'm just going to assume the post arrives before Vernon leaves for work.
Does the door open inwards or outwards?
Oh, that is a good question. They could have just, if they had opened the door with a bit of force, and then it's just like, whoa, there's a baby flying like onto the lawn, and now the baby has a severe concussion.
Well, I think most house doors, at least where we live, they open inwards, but yeah.
Yes, they do.
Little baby Harry drooling on his ledger, and then it's like, boop, boop, eat it out of there.
Yeah, that's what happened. Exactly.
All right. Most important question here is, how the did everyone know about what had happened half a day after it had happened? Because, and this is going to be a long rant from me. I'm not sorry. So, social media doesn't exist. 1, not as this is today. 2, wizards don't do technology, or generally evolving and developing their shit. There is literally not a single witness who saw James and Lily being murdered and Harry surviving somehow. And I mean, Harry doesn't count, he's an infant. His memory isn't developed yet. Like, sure, there are dead bodies and a baby with an odd scar and shit, and Sirius was there to see the aftermath for some reason. Why was Sirius there anyway? How do they know? Okay, the Death Eaters might know through their mark, but they sure as hell wouldn't tell the public. Snape probably told Dumbledore, though. Maybe the people who were under the Imperius curse told people, but how many of those were put under Voldemort by himself instead of his Death Eaters? How and why did Sirius come to the scene? Was he there to begin with, or did Hagrid get the motorbike from him in a different place? Was Dumbledore there personally? I think there's actually no indication pointing towards that. How and why did anyone go to the Potters after what happened? Okay, alright, I did actually look that up. So in the 3rd book, Sirius says that he'd arranged to check in on Peter, but Peter wasn't there, so he went to James and Lily and found them dead. I'm assuming, because Peter was the secret keeper, and James saw that Peter had just vanished, he got the feeling something was wrong.
Probably.
So apparently James and Lily are more important than Peter.
Yeah, seems that way.
Sirius was definitely there. And it would make sense for Hagrid to encounter him as he was about to go after Peter. Anyway. Also, wasn't there an explosion? 1, why was there an explosion? 2, that probably alerted the magical community in Godric's Hollow. But wouldn't the Fidelius charm still be in place? Peter's still alive and definitely hasn't told the general public the secret.
Maybe the charm blew up with the random explosion.
But that's not how magic is supposed to work. Peter might have been there, actually. He retrieves Voldy's wand, doesn't he? But Peter won't tell anyone.
Well, he does have it in book 4, so it is likely that Peter went there. So Peter was there, and Sirius was there, and Hagrid was there, and Dumbledore was most likely not there.
Either way, no matter how it got out, imagine you're an unassuming witch, wizard, non-binary magical person, or whatever, and you hear these rumors, wherever they are coming from, about the Potters dying last night, and their son surviving with an odd scar, and you know who being gone. First of all, that's some weird shit. I wouldn't believe rumors telling me he's gone just like that. I'd be more skeptical. After all, we're talking about this evil, powerful Dark Lord, who many brave people have tried and failed to defeat, who has been terrorizing the wizarding population for over a decade. Second of all, how do you know it was the Dark Lord that attacked them? There's no evidence, no eyewitnesses. It hasn't even been a full day yet. Alright, there might or might not have been a Voldy corpse. Jury's still out on that. That would count as evidence, at least. How does anyone come to the conclusion that Voldy used the killing curse on Harry and it rebounded? Because, like, if Wormtail was there to retrieve the wand, then you can't use the Priori Incantatem spell and no witnesses to the murders.
I mean, maybe you could investigate the scar and remnants of the curse, and it would be somehow detectable. But there is no evidence pointing to the fact that that was the case, because as far as we know, Harry got taken to the Dursleys by Hagrid, and Hagrid was one of the few people that was actually there, and Hagrid certainly wouldn't be able to identify that. And you would need a very skilled person to detect something like that and determine it, and then you need someone else to check it, to verify it, and that most likely didn't happen in that short time span.
Yeah. Dumbledore is the only one in this entire scenario who knows enough. The prophecy, Snape eavesdropping and fearing for Lily's life. possibly the Secret Keeper switch. I really doubt he was unaware of that prior to Prisoner of Azkaban, etc. But Dumbledore doesn't strike me as a person to tell others about this, especially not immediately after it happened. And encouraging everyone to celebrate. Remember also that Dumbledore already suspects Voldy isn't gone entirely. Tells McGonagall as much in Chapter 1. And, well, Dumbledore is the one who ordered Hagrid to retrieve Harry, so how does Dumbledore know what happened? How the f does everyone know what happened?
Deep breaths, Neitshayd. Deep breaths.
Right.
Let's move on.
Right.
I think we ranted enough about this. Let's move on.
No.
No?
This was not enough.
Well, feel free to rant more, but I don't know if our listeners would appreciate that.
Okay. Chapter 2. The Vanishing Glass. This chapter also begins with a somewhat omniscient narrator instead of the personal narrator you know we uses for most of the book. 10 years have passed since, we'll acknowledge, the boy who lived certainly lived in a cupboard. And he learned growing up that, well, don't ask questions. It's something our little traumatized jock protagonist will carry with him all his life. Thanks, Petunia.
A good child is a quiet child.
Pure, abused little baby wizard. I might hate you, but I also acknowledge that you did not deserve any of that, and Dumbledore should rot in hell for putting you through this.
Yes, exactly.
I keep wondering how Petunia took care of infant Harry.
I have no clue whatsoever. But at age 1, babies don't need breast milk anymore, at least to my knowledge. But then again, I don't have a child, so who am I to talk?
Ooh, babies. Bah. I would have foisted him off to the neighbor lady too. Both him and Dudley.
Oh yes, I would probably have done that too. Or maybe not, because I'm a nice Hufflepuff.
On the note of the nice neighbor lady, cat lady.
Yes.
Harry, dear, cats are the best thing to ever exist. You should be the happiest boy going to the cat lady next door and having the privilege of looking at cat photos surrounded by cats. That's heaven, my dear. Don't mind the cabbage smell.
One can tolerate the cabbage smell for the cat.
Yes. Why do old people's homes smell like cabbages anyway? All my brain is telling me is, not my cabbages, in the voice of that unfortunate cabbage merchant from Avatar The Last Airbender.
Ah, yes. Yes, he did found later on Cabbage Corp is successful. I don't know what. But I don't know. Maybe that's a thing with reasons behind it we don't understand, because we have not lived in this world for that long. Maybe there's a reason old people's home smells like cabbages.
Odd world. So
Yeah.
I'll have to wait until you grow old enough to see whether well, our house will smell like cabbages then.
Yeah,
Wait.
I think so.
Wait.
Yeah?
Mrs. Fig has a husband somewhere, probably in a grave. I never realized.
Maybe she even killed him herself because he harmed one of the cats.
Ha. There's a fun thought.
So, this chapter is all about Dudley's birthday, and Dudley gets a lot of presents. He gets a new computer, a second TV, a racing bike, a sign camera, which I think those are expensive. Well, expensive as well, because the other stuff is also expensive. He gets a...
I think it's a cine camera.
Cine camera?
Like cinema? Cinema?
Fine,
I don't know what it is, but...
He gets a camera.
Yes.
A remote control aeroplane? Is that how he pronounces? Because my brain tells me airplane, but it's written differently.
Aeroplane.
He gets also 16 new computer games, a video recorder, a gold wristwatch. How?
Actually,
yeah,
it could be aeroplane as well.
Aeroplane?
Aeroplane or aeroplane? Maybe even both.
Maybe I should have looked that up before the episode, but I didn't.
Maybe.
But anyway, case in point, how much money does Vernon make? I know he's the director of a drill firm, but if he makes that much money, the Dursleys would live in a bigger house. Or maybe that is just me unconsciously thinking of the house we see in the film. I don't know, maybe the house they live in the books is much bigger, but the house in the films is not that big, and if they can afford giving Dudley all these presents, I would expect them to live in a bigger house, you know?
British culture. Well, the Dursleys are considered middle class, or upper middle class probably, so they are well off, even with Mr. Dursley being the only one who works. And I'd say a house with 4 bedrooms in total is a big house.
And now I'm like 4 bedrooms?
Yes. You have the master bedroom, you have Dudley's 2 bedrooms, and you have a guest bedroom in which Aunt March sleeps.
I forgot to count the guest bedroom. Yeah, 4 bedrooms that does sound like quite a lot.
Plus living room, bathroom, cupboard under the stairs, kitchen, other rooms we don't know about.
Yeah, my brain just goes films, and what we see of the house in the films, it's not that big, and that's understandable because budget. So it's just I have watched the films too much. So my imagination of the house is slow to adapt, if it ever will adapt. Anyways.
Like Neville is actually blonde.
Is he?
Yes. Neville is blonde. Yes.
Okay. That yeah, my brain will also have trouble with that. Okay. What else is my brain apparently having trouble with? When I read the line, Harry had a thin face. What is your first thought when you hear or read that line? Because my thoughts went to Chinese literature. Yours?
I want to deny my mind goes easily embarrassed or offended, but I can't. What does that even mean in Western context? Having a thin face.
Having a thin face? I mean, in Harry's context, Harry having a thin face means it's like literally his face is thin because the Dursleys starved him to death. Like Dudley has a fat face.
Oh yeah, because for some reason I was like having a very thin skin. Like my skin is very thin and translucent, and you can see all the little veins underneath. And
so Western literature is like, yes, the physical appearance is thin, and Chinese literature is just like, yeah, it's more metaphorical.
Yes, okay.
What else? Dudley is 10 years old at that point, or is he 11? I don't know. And he can't calculate.
This is his 11th birthday, I believe.
Oh yeah, so technically he's 11 now, and he can't calculate 37 plus 2. He should be in 4th or 5th grade at this point. So how is it he can't calculate 37 plus 2?
Because you know who wrote him as a stupid bully.
Ah, that's why. I see.
He's a stupid bully.
But still, with that,
don't think too hard about it.
Okay.
Either way, the birthday boy gets to go to the zoo, and Harry may come along for the ride, and it's all very exciting for our little Harry. At least until the glass front of a boa constrictor's tank mysteriously vanishes.
How long do boa constrictors become?
Get.
If you bred in captivity in a zoo.
How long do they get? Boas don't get that large. They're more like 2 meters long, 3 meters if you got an exceptionally large specimen. If you don't overfeed them, and you shouldn't overfeed your boas because that shortens their lifespan significantly. I want to get a boa one day.
We will get a boa. We will get you a boa one day. And apparently the boa in the zoo they visit is long enough to wrap itself twice around Vernon's car. And seeing that Harry, Dudley, and one of Dudley's friends fit into the backseat, it can't be that small of a car. I mean, yes, Harry is rather slim, but Dudley makes up for that easily. So if you make just some rough calculations, assuming the car is like 2 meters wide and 1.5 meters high, that would mean roughly 14 meters in total. I think no math or research was involved when writing this on whose part.
Does it? Wouldn't it, if it's 2 meters wide, you have like 2 meters at the bottom, 2 meters at the top, makes 4 meters.
Yes, that's 4.
And then 1.5 meters to both sides?
Yes, it's 3 additional meters. That is 7 meters for one wrap around the car.
Yes.
And twice, that makes 14 meters.
Yes.
I could get behind if it was only like wrap around once. Then it would be like, okay, yeah, 2 to 3 meters normal. Then you could assume, yes, maybe it's a large specimen and they overfed it. So, okay, and then you have imagination of a child. So 7 meters, but 14 meters?
Well, no, I think 7 meters, maybe anacondas. I know anacondas are larger, but I don't know the proper dimensions for this kind of snake. Anyway, I think this is more of a case of little Harry making unrealistic comparisons the way children tend to do. Hagrid's description probably falls victim to no, wait. Chapter 1 is from other people's perspectives.
Yes.
Chapter 1 is so whimsical anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, so this is... I hope for the boa constrictor that it was a properly sized, not overfed specimen and Harry's just...
being a child.
Overreacting.
Yeah.
What is the... I forgot the word.
You forgot the word.
If you make an elephant out of a mosquito. Can't remember.
Maybe we will remember, like, later.
Yeah, doesn't change the fact that snakes can't wink.
They don't have eyelids, after all. A fact I only know thanks to Neitshayd.
Yeah. So much drama over a boa. Boas are really chill, you know. Adorable, lovely snakes. I won't spit poison in your face. I'm a boa, I don't do that.
They just strangle you to death or ignore you completely. You're just a human, after all, not worthy of their attention. Am I right?
Cute little boa constrictor. Wouldn't hurt a fly. Only some mice and the occasional guinea pig. At least the snake isn't held captive in a cupboard like Carrie. Yeah. So... Oh, I remembered.
Yes?
It's exaggerate.
Oh, yes.
Exaggerating.
He's
exaggerated.
Yes. See?
Anyway.
You did remember after all. And it didn't take that long.
I remember the word. Look, I remember the word. I think I might remember how to write it, but I forgot the pronunciation for it.
That is very...
It's like, because the first, it's like E and then an X, and it's like, how do you pronounce an X?
Yeah. I just straight up forgot the word for a bit. Or I didn't, maybe not forgot the word, but I didn't remember it for a second.
Exaggerate.
Like
eggs.
Exact.
Eggs that you can eat for breakfast.
Oh,
exaggerating.
Yes. Hard-boiled egg for breakfast, or some scrambled eggs?
Soft-boiled.
Soft-boiled egg and some scrambled egg, or egg sunny side up?
Yeah. Soft-boiled or sunny side up. Okay, chapter 3. Letters from No One. This chapter starts the summer holidays, and these are very special summer holidays because Harry gets a letter for the first time in his life. And oh Harry, you know your relatives. Just tuck the letter away somewhere and don't stare at it where they can see.
Yeah, definitely not a Ravenclaw.
Oh dear. Oh, also, don't ask questions. Thanks for reminding us, Vernon. Harry will actually ask questions later on, but only during the initial confusion and excitement of being introduced to the world of magic. It's like he forgets himself for a moment, but he will later revert to what the Dursleys drilled into him and not ask questions or rely on adults. Ever.
Poor Harry. Would have made his life better if he had forgotten about it again and asked questions again, or maybe asked competent adults for help.
So, the letters... So, Muggle-born children, get a teacher bringing them their letter and an explanation. Harry instead gets a lot of letters. A lot of letters. How does this work? How do they expect this to work? Does the quill that who told us about an old Pottermore just keep writing them because it knows Harry hasn't read them? How does it know that? And how do the professors know which children they have to visit personally? How does that work?
That does work because magic.
Ugh.
We don't need more of an answer, do we? The answer is just magic.
Right. Most importantly, did anyone see the letters addressed to Harry and what was written on specifically the first one, namely the cupboard under the stairs? Dumbledore might have, but Dumbledore can rot in hell. Hagrid knows somehow that Harry didn't get any of his letters, but I think he doesn't know what was written on the letters.
Yeah, probably not. I'm just gonna assume here that nobody aside from Dumbledore would have read the letters, but aren't the letters signed by McGonagall? Like Deputy Headmistress?
That's the other thing, because how do I don't remember the specifics, but I remember writing about this quill in the book with names. And so the quill is very sensitive to magic. The moment it detects, it wants to write in the book, but the book is less sensitive, so it shuts itself if it's like, nah, this is not magical. And then someone must take, probably at the beginning of the new school year, someone takes the book, Dumbledore or McGonagall, goes through the names and writes letters personally. But who addresses the letters? Because the person who writes the addresses must. Yeah, and also, how do they know the address of every...
Maybe it's a magical quill they have specifically for writing the letters, and as soon as the address is written, the letter is magically sent off so nobody ever gets to read that. You could potentially say privacy, but what privacy in the magical world, honestly, if you have the trace.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
And why is the letter even addressed to the cupboard under the stairs? Why so specific? Is it really necessary? Are there two people with the same name in one house who both turn 11 years old that year and get their Hogwarts letter? Did that happen at any point, that they decided to be so specific in the future? It's the only reason I can think of why it needs to be so specific.
Also, how was Harry supposed to reply by owl when he lives with muggles? How was Harry supposed to get to Diagon Alley when he lives with muggles? Muggles, it must be said, that Dumbledore and McGonagall both know are not fond of magic. Petunia might know about the leaky cauldron, maybe, and the barkeeper could have possibly opened the entrance, but come on, people. Just sending out hundreds of letters to the child savior you left with his magic-hating muggle relatives and thinking it will work out somehow is quite irresponsible.
And can Petunia even see the leaky cauldron? Because all the muggles ignored it when Hagrid and Harry went there, so I assume you can only see it if you if you have the help of a wizard who makes it visible for you or something like that. Maybe there's a specific spell. Who knows, honestly? And they really should have sent someone to help Harry. Someone who was maybe not Hagrid. Someone who would have explained everything once they noticed Harry had no clue. Yay.
Yeah. Do children books need to be perfectly thought through? Probably not. Is this a book for children? Doubtful, actually. And since the later books most certainly do not target an audience made of children, this excuse is a moot point. World building, dear author, is important. Always. Rest in peace, Dudley's tortoise, by the way. Gets thrown out a window at one point.
Oh no. Rest in peace.
Well, so I think this whole chapter is really funny. The whole thing of them, the letters, and then the Dursleys, or Vernon Dursley losing it and then fleeing off across the country. It's really funny. I'll give it that. Yeah. Miserable for Harry, funny for us.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, it was funny. Yes, you make a good point. And what I want to know is, Vernon is allowed to buy a rifle Just like that? This is Britain and not America. How did he do that?
The mysterious ways of a drill film director.
Yes.
Secretly a mafia boss, just like you are.
I'm not.
Either way, after all those shenanigans trying to escape the letters on a tiny island in the middle of a storm, something knocks on the door at midnight precisely. That timing, Hagrid, wow. Was that on purpose? Right as the clock strikes midnight and Harry's officially 11 years old. Well, we'll find out. Never. Time for chapter 4, The Keeper of the Keys. Yo, do we ever see Hagrid being this poorly in control of his strength again? Don't think so.
No, don't think so.
I could swear Hagrid mistook Dudley for Harry at first, but that's not in the books.
Who knows?
Did he do that in the movies?
Could be that he did do that in the films. Like I said in the beginning, it has been a while since I watched the film, so I can't tell you. Sorry.
Doesn't matter anyway. To quote Hagrid, you look a lot like your dad, but you've got your mum's eyes. Or something. I don't know what his accent is supposed to be. We need a counter for this. I won't do a counter for this, but we need a counter for this. People tell Harry this so often that even Harry, who has the attention capacity and awareness of a brick, takes notice.
I would get annoyed real fast. Poor Harry.
Yeah, anyway, so we meet Rubeus Hagrid. What does being Keeper of Keys even mean?
Especially if there's Alohomora to just open doors. I assume there's also a locking charm, and there is not really a need for keys. Okay, maybe to keep out little children who are not allowed to do magic, but kids are allowed to do magic at Hogwarts, and the unlocking charm is part of the first year curriculum. I don't really see the need for keys at Hogwarts.
Yeah, it's an honorary title or something. Maybe. Who knows?
Probably. But he's also the groundskeeper. So
yeah, well, that's a job. Yeah, that's an actual job.
Yes, that's a job. But why does he need like the honorary title of Keeper of Keys as well?
Dumbledore. Being a manipulative bastard. Sorry. So
to make him more loyal, to make him feel more appreciated.
Hush. Hagrid doesn't need to know that.
Okay.
So Hagrid is not allowed to do magic at all. We don't know how the trace works, how it gets activated and stuff, and world-building-wise the trace is super contradictory anyway, but Hagrid using magic around the Dursleys seems iffy. Oh, well, he got a permission for this. Never mind. No, wait, actually. He got permission to do magic to get Harry, but not to do it in front of muggles. Ah, well, whatever.
And now that he has gotten to Harry, he technically isn't allowed to do magic anymore. He tells Harry about this in the next chapter. He's like not allowed to use it in front of muggles and not allowed to use it to get Harry to London and into Diagon Alley, because he was only allowed to do that to get to Harry. So, and do you need to use magic to reveal the entrance of Diagon Alley, or do you just need a wand? Because if you need magic, then Hagrid wouldn't be allowed to take Harry shopping, technically.
Good question. No idea. Hot sausages or cold sausages?
Hot sausages. You? Cold, if I had to guess.
I'm not a big fan of meat generally, but sometimes I'm fine with a chicken sausage and I would eat it cold, so you are indeed correct.
Yay, I'm correct.
Okay, now, very important. Harry, you're a wizard. Misquoted just as often as that Star Wars quote, with the wrong emphasis. I am your father is what he says. These days people don't get it wrong anymore, but back in the day...
You make it sound like it's really ancient.
I am ancient. I'm allowed to do that. Anyway, so Harry is a lizard.
Yes, it's Harry. You're a wizard, and it's not you're a wizard, Harry. Just like this, I am your father, not I am your father. I was very confused, to be honest, when I first watched that movie, like I had finally reached that famous scene and it was different. I basically made the surprised Pikachu face.
Yeah, we should do an episode about Star Wars one day. Okay, so Harry now has met Hagrid, keeper of the keys, whatever that means, learned about his own heritage and fame, and is finally allowed to read his letter. What's the difference between witchcraft and wizardry? And why don't they just use the word magic as every person in this book does? Side note, I know there's a gender-neutral word for witches and wizards, but I can't be bothered to remember to use it.
I think I read a fanfic once which made a point in only using a gender-neutral term. I think it was Wizen or something like that. It was like a Wizen society, and instead of saying witches and wizards, they just used the term Wizen. Maybe, could be. My memory is not the best.
I think it's Wixen, like Wixen for female foxes, but with a W. No idea how to pronounce it though.
I mean, you make it sound like I would know how to pronounce it, which I don't. We would need to have to look that up, and by the time this episode is over, I will probably already have forgotten all about it again. So
it's not important anyway.
Yeah.
Side note 2, witches and wizards are actually not the same thing, and that is not due to gender. There's also warlocks and other shit, but yeah, it's like you can have male witches and female wizards.
The term warlock is also used by she who must not be named. I don't know why, but it strikes me as a title or something.
Dumbledore.
Eh?
He's chief warlock of the Wissengamot for a period of time, which... No, let's not get into the shitty world building here.
There was a... maybe it had something to do with the Daily Prophet and an article published in that where they asked people's opinions, and you had like 3 accounts of people, and one of them was like signed with like, yeah, warlock XY.
There's also like some evil dudes who are warlocks, I believe, in the lore of the non-existent lore of the non-existent world building of this. Okay, so the letter says, we await your owl by no later than the 31st of July. Let me check the date. So today? Oof, Harry, that was close.
Very close.
Thank goodness that Hagrid came perfectly on time to discover that none of those shitty muggles had told you anything, and you needed the same support as muggle-born children. Oh dear.
Oh dear. I mean, what would have happened if Hagrid just hadn't arrived and been like, yeah, congratulations, Harry, happy birthday. Maybe he would never have gone to Hogwarts, would he?
Huh. Yeah, I think the letters would have stopped on his birthday because after that the deadline is
yes, over. Didn't reply, so we assume you forfeit your position at this school. But then again, it's their child. Xavier, would they have accepted that? They probably would have made an exception and sent someone to get him and then have realized their mistake. But, oh well.
What mistake? Dumbledore totally knows what's going on.
Oh yeah, totally.
There's no way Dumbledore doesn't know what is going on. There's a reason he sent Hagrid.
It would obviously never be acknowledged that there was like something like that happen and that Harry technically, without an exception, wouldn't have been accepted into Hogwarts. But that is just speculations anyway. Did you know Lily did underage magic at home? Because
I did know that.
You did know that? Because
I read the books.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because during the holidays, she showed her family that she can turn teacups into rats. And did they introduce the trace on the wands against underage magic later in time? Was it not a thing back then, or is this just back writing? Because in the very same chapter, Hagrid tells Harry he can't do magic outside of school. The author is kind of contradicting herself with that in one chapter.
Maybe Petunia is... Oh, look what I wrote there. The mysterious word. Exaggerating? I can't pronounce it. It's such a simple word, but I can't pronounce it. It's giving my tongue problems.
Yeah, there's some words like that.
But the trace being contradictory world building and all that, it's unclear in the original material whether the trace is applied to the children or their wands or how it works in general. The one thing is definitely a fanfiction thing. I'm guilty of writing that too. But what else are we supposed to do if not try to write something better than with shitty world building, so...
Yeah, what can you do?
Anyway, lovely of Hagrid to retell everything that we already learned in chapter 1, dumping all that exposition on us once more.
Question. How did Lily and James become head boy and head girl? Lily, I get, because later she is portrayed as a good student and it's just a friendly person in general. But James is one of the marauders. How did he get the head boy position? A prankster is entirely unsuited to that position. And both are also from the same house. I really don't like that. The head boy should have been someone else, in my opinion. Like, maybe from Hufflepuff or from Ravenclaw. Slytherin not getting head boy position could have the risk of a Voldy follower. Yeah.
Hey, oi, that's unfair. Take that back. We're not evil. No,
Yes.
wait, we are evil. Never mind.
Okay, and you also need to consider, like, I mean, was Dumbledore the headmaster back then?
Yes.
Yeah, so you also need to consider Dumbledore and his bias and paranoia and whatnot. And if for some unknown reason it needs to be a Gryffindor, then Remus would have been a better choice. And he is a werewolf.
Well, Dumbledore was headmaster, so that explains all.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway, that was the letter and the exposition dump, but that doesn't mean that the Dursleys will just accept this. Oh no, not that they can do anything about it. But to Hagrid's point here, if Harry was written down for Hogwarts ever since he was born and he turned out to be a squib, what then? Let's just say Hagrid is just saying this and doesn't actually mean it as an absolute truth. So we're not contradicting the lore about the quill in the book that totally already had in mind and totally did not come up with later.
Why do the Dursleys want to keep him at home and not send him to Hogwarts? They wouldn't have to see him, they don't like him after all. But no trace. Underage magic is allowed, so they're afraid of Harry's powers, I assume, and don't want him to learn magic because they are afraid of it. But couldn't the wizarding community harm them even more if they decided to keep Harry out of it because Harry is their child savior? They want Harry to be in their community. And I just don't get it. Why did they accept him into their home in the first place? They could have just put him in an orphanage. Or were they threatened in Dumbledore's letter?
We never do learn what Dumbledore wrote, do we?
No,
we only know that all it takes is a little reminder and Petunia will stop her husband from throwing the boy out in book 5.
And also, Vernon is like assuming he has to pay for Harry to attend Hogwarts. Does he mean the supplies, or is there like an attendance fee? Like that is also something that is just never clarified. It's a boarding school, and I think most boarding schools have an attendance fee to cover the costs for lodging, running water, and the like. So, how are the teachers paid if there's no attendance fee?
Magic. It's the only school in Britain, or the only big and official one anyway. Maybe the ministry is funding it.
Maybe. Do wizards need to pay taxes? Because the ministry would need to get money. And I mean, they also need to pay the people working at the ministry. Is there like a visiting tax?
Magic.
Magic.
Now then.
The answer to everything.
We saw Dudley's birthday. Time for Harry's birthday. It's already off to a promising start.
Yes, with Chapter 5, Diagon Alley. We get to go shopping. Harry gets to go shopping on his birthday.
Well, first, Harry is awoken by an owl. I wonder how owls work. Surely they are magical in some way, because how would they otherwise know where to find people?
I wonder about that as well. They must be magical in some way. Can they find you anywhere? Could they also fly over the Pacific Ocean in case you want to deliver a letter to America for some reason? Does that also mean every person has a magical signature the owls can see and trace or something? It's a bit creepy, isn't it? But also bloody useful.
Magic.
Magic.
Yeah. So, owl. delivers the post and demands to be paid, and Harry has his first, little... I forgot the word. What did I want to say?
I don't know what you wanted to say.
Anyway, Hagrid sees wizarding money for the first time. That's not what I wanted to say, but it gets the point across. The money thing... Well, the fact that Harry doesn't have money already came up last chapter, but this time Harry finally dares to ask, and we learn about Gringotts. So, more exposition, yay!
Yay.
Which makes me wonder, one bank for all magical people of Britain? Or for all magical people in the world?
Isn't Bill in Egypt to break curses for Gringotts? That would imply it's at least international.
True. How big is the magical community, I wonder? Probably tiny, and they realistically should have died out long ago.
And in order to prevent that, they married muggles.
But that shouldn't have been enough, and they don't do it all that often, considering how even the more open-minded families like the Weasleys think of muggles. So, tiny, and likely to die out soon. You know who's probable with numbers anyway. See Hogwarts students' population in Gringotts currency.
Yeah. Not good.
That currency makes no sense whatsoever. It's meant to be whimsical, but it's just plain stupid in my opinion.
It seems nonsensical and unnecessarily complicated. Also means every wizard has to be good at math. Also means people like Dudley will have a problem, to say the least.
Well, Dudley is not a wizard.
No, he isn't.
But Crabbe and Goyle are. And there is no math class at Hogwarts.
So they are all horrible when it comes to just their money.
I believe it was 17 sickles to a galleon, but at one point something cost 17 sickles, which is like...
But that is a galleon.
Shouldn't it be like 1 galleon in that case?
Yeah, it should be.
It's...
Maybe she forgot. Maybe she forgot the conversion rate or the conversion number. Our dear author is not good with numbers. We already established that.
Back to the story. So, according to Hagrid, as he tells Harry, Dumbledore is using Hagrid for important stuff because he trusts him. Well, I wouldn't trust Hagrid with important stuff because he's kind of clumsy. Not exactly the brightest. He's very loyal though, I'll give him that.
He's also not allowed to do magic, and that's very bad in case you need to defend yourself. I wouldn't send him on the very important stuff.
Actually, as a part giant, Hagrid is immune to many spells. And the offense is easily taken care of by his immense strength, though.
I suppose
that's not a problem.
Yeah, but he's also easily spotted because he is a half giant. He sticks out like a sore thumb, so not very stealthy.
Well, maybe that's useful in its own way. If I were to speculate about manipulative Dumbledore's great plan for his little child savior, I would make an extended comment about the timing of Hagrid giving Harry his introduction to the magical world and retrieving the stone at the same time. But I'm not going to do that. Wait, so the special permission for Hagrid to use magic only lasted until he reached Harry. Wizarding logic. Wizarding logic.
Yeah, I already mentioned that earlier.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yes.
Why a pink umbrella anyway?
Why not?
Oh, look at that. Foreshadowing. Hagrid telling us there's dragons guarding the high security walls. Which totally does not come up in the last book. And Hagrid wants a dragon? Huh.
Ooh, no foreshadowing to be found here. No, not at all.
Okay, let's talk about the list. First off, ropes. Many people have speculated how the ropes work. We don't need to discuss that.
And you only need 3 work ropes, a hat, 1 pair of gloves, and 1 winter cloak. And at first, I thought that was not nearly enough. How could that ever be enough? But everything needs a name tag, because house elves are a thing. Must be pretty neat, not having to do the washing yourself and the cooking. And I suppose 1 year is not enough to wear the clothes out, so I guess it's enough after all.
Well, the ropes are worn over the normal day-to-day clothing. And how often do you wash your jackets?
Not very often.
See?
Yeah, I get the point. Also, how are all the kids not fat? Because you always have a buffet, and I doubt children can regulate themselves with what they are eating. How are they making sure the students eat a balanced and healthy diet? Probably not at all. I can just hope that the castle is big enough that they get the steps in to burn all those calories they're eating every day.
Maybe doing magic burns calories? I can't even imagine overeating. And our diet is rather healthy because the meals we prefer simply are healthy.
You're also really weird when it comes to food.
Yeah, consequences of being an undead.
Yes.
Next on the list, the pointed hat. So I'm guessing they wear classical witch hats all the time. Like, yeah, they are wearing just, even though
Yeah.
the male ones are wizards. Do wizards wear the pointed hats that witches do? Ah, whatever. Which fits the aesthetic, but those hats never really get mentioned, and the films forgot all about them after the first one. There weren't even proper witch hats in the film. There was no brim.
Yeah, there's the head in the heads in the film. They just look stupid, and the heads do get mentioned occasionally in the books. They are sometimes there if you get a brief description of a character's appearance.
Huh. Ah, well. There's also a book list, and is there a subject that uses the book magical theory? Seems like a good subject to have. Seems like something you would want to learn more and more about as you grow older and learn more and more magic. Maybe not for us readers, because that would require a proper working and well thought through magic system. Oh no. But characters in the world should know this stuff.
I wondered about that as well. Is there a class we don't know about? It probably never got mentioned because then people would have wanted to know more about it, and she who must not be named would have needed to do proper world building and invent a proper magic system, and we can't have that now, can we?
No. No, we can't. So we go to London for this. And you know, I've been to London twice, and the first time around I walked around and looked at all sorts of places the internet told me had been used to film certain scenes, like King's Cross, and it's either Leadenhall Market or Leadenhall Market, who knows, which is where they put the leaky cauldron in the films. I've also been to the film studios twice. They were pretty cool. Lots of potion props to stare at because potions. And there's also this super cool, rather old library in Manchester called the John Rylands Library that gives off a lot of Hogwarts vibes. I don't know whether they actually filmed there, but it seems likely. It's definitely worth a visit. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Manchester in general is pretty cool, and you can get to Liverpool easily via train. And Liverpool is beautiful.
You need to take me to all those places one day.
Planning on it. But I either need a human disguise or you'll have to walk around on your own. Or take someone else.
How did you visit them in the first place, then?
By not letting the humans notice me. I mean, how did you imagine me going there? I didn't even have any money back then. Because I did. Yeah.
You didn't
but
have
if
me
no
to leech
humans
off
noticed you, if no humans noticed you, they can't scream about a demon and they can't demand money from you.
Yeah, true enough.
Just requires some sneaking around. Back to Harry Potter. Had Quirrell already acquired his little dark lordling parasite at this point? Was this the first meeting between Harry and Voldy after that fateful night? He already assumed his stutter, so there's that.
I assume he had, because that day he tried to steal the stone, and why would he do that if the little parasite hadn't told him to do so?
Ah, that's right. Well, we finally reached Diagon Alley. First stop is Gringotts. And goblins. I'm sure they're not a badly written allegory for something. Definitely not. Only greedy little... Anyway.
Yeah, and you only need a key to enter a vault. Not much of an identity check, if you ask me. if it is supposed to be secure as fuck, but only a single key is not secure at all.
Harry's Gringotts key will never end up in Harry's hands, will it?
No. Maybe post-canon.
Hagrid keeps it after their first visit. Then Mrs. Weasley somehow acquires it. And we just never know where it would end up next, except that it certainly won't be in Harry's possession.
He is a minor, after all.
Does that count in Wizarding Society?
I have no clue.
There are some Weasley-bashing fanfics out there that exploit that to have the Weasley steal Harry's money behind his back. I do not believe that is actually happening, but Harry should still be more concerned about the whereabouts of the key to the vault that holds all of his money.
He has bigger problems? Other problems? Who am I kidding? Harry, that's all of your money. You need to be more concerned about the whereabouts of that stupid key.
On that matter, do the Dursleys get money for keeping Harry, or is that a fanfiction thing? I can't remember. I think that's a fanfiction thing.
It's a fanfiction thing, I think. But I get where they are coming from.
So, we're taking on a roller coaster. And I think the roller coaster thing is totally on purpose, isn't it? Making their customers feel all queasy and wobbling on their feet and all, because that increases security. Also, the difference between a stalagmite and a stalactite is
not important for the podcast.
Right. But it's easier to stab people with a stalactite. Just saying. If you want to stab them with the pointy end, use a stalactite.
Okay.
So, is Harry's vault the only one his parents used? Is it a trust vault? Are there others? What about Potter family heirlooms and stuff? We shall never know, because Harry doesn't pay attention to anything.
Fanfiction addresses that problem.
Did I mention that visiting money makes no sense? Yes? Alright. I like Griffook. He's nasty.
Of course you do.
Yes, he's nasty. Okay, money, check. Next, robes. But without Hagrid and... Hagrid? Is alcohol the best solution to feeling queasy?
Hagrid certainly seems to think so.
And then he gets ice cream. Is that ice cream Hagrid got spelled to not melt? Probably. Because Harry had a full conversation with Draco and presumably purchased his robes afterwards. Not that we get to witness that in the writing. And only then got to enjoy his ice cream.
And why is Narcissa looking at wands while Draco gets fitted? Because the wand chooses the wizard. So there would be no point in Narcissa looking at wands if she doesn't want to buy one for herself. Which, why would she? Lucius buying the books, on the other hand, that does make sense.
Or Draco is just talking shit.
But why would he? He doesn't even know the person who is standing next to him and who he's talking to.
It's Draco.
And why was Harry quicker doing the robe fitting than Draco anyways? I can't imagine fitting one child takes way longer than fitting the other.
Because Draco is a snotty brat and everything needs to be perfect, and he perhaps is also getting more outfits done, because he certainly won't wear muggle clothing underneath his robes, and he is overall a very special pureblood after all.
Yeah, Draco is really not giving himself any plus points so far. He behaves like a haughty, little, noble, pureblood Slytherin to be.
He truly does. Also, the first time we hear about Hufflepuff isn't very flattering, but it's Draco. The second time we hear about Hufflepuff isn't much better, and this time it's Hagrid, who we're supposed to like and trust. Poor Hufflepuff. Slytherin isn't off any better, because Draco is a brat and Hagrid thinks all Slytherins are evil, and then Ravenclaw is kind of forgotten in the sidelines, as always. Poor Ravenclaws don't even get merged with the right colors and symbol.
So, only Gryffindor gets displayed in a positive light.
As always. Side note, this reminds me of something you said a few days ago, Cecilia. So in the Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and the new one, Tears of the Kingdom, I personally love solving all the puzzles and prefer avoiding battles if possible. I only usually sneak around enemies and only fight them if I need material or if it's an unavoidable boss battle. And well, Cecilia commented that this proved how much of a Slytherin I am and how much of a Gryffindor I am not, but isn't puzzle solving more of a Ravenclaw thing?
Well, the sneaking around is very Slytherin, in my opinion. And one could argue that Slytherins want to test how cunning they are by solving the puzzles in a different way than you are supposed to, because you tend to do that.
True. Why use the straightforward way if you can go around it?
Exactly.
Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's not, but it's always fun. Back on track. Hagrid, you're a liar. You know perfectly well that Sirius Black was a Death Eater and in Gryffindor. And Merlin was, according to the old Pottermore, which we're supposed to treat as canon, in Slytherin. You use Merlin's name in your daily language where muggles use God, so he must be pretty important. Ever thought about that? No? Yeah, I thought so.
Willful ignorance.
Next point. If almost no one is aware of Voldy's identity as Tom Riddle, then how do you know he was a Slytherin? Someone must have started that rumor. Maybe one of the few who know, and well, I can't see Slughorn doing it. Dumbledore? Maybe? And then everyone accepted it as fact, because of course all Slytherins are evil.
Let's just blame it on Dumbledore.
Always. So, Snake House is evil house. Badger House is useless house. Eagle House exists. And Lion House is good house. Nice. Why do we sort children into echo chambers again? Oh, who cares? It will surely be perfectly fine.
Totally fine. Totally. No problems at all. Everything is perfectly fine. I can't even convince myself.
With that taken out of the way, and all other chopping except for the wand mentioned in passing, Hagrid has decided to give Harry the birthday present we have been waiting for, because we totally did not forget that this was Harry's birthday. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
But what is this? Hagrid doesn't like cats. Alright, that's it. This is where I draw the line. Hagrid, I officially dislike you.
Cats are amazing and everyone should love them.
Being a dog person is fine. I like dogs. Dogs are cute and way too dependent and would follow you to the end of the world, but cats. Cats. Cats are the best thing that has ever happened to this world. There is nothing better than a cat. Not even foxes, who are my favorite type of animal, or chocolate, or a cozy and nicely warm bed on a crisp winter's morning after a full night's sleep. Nothing will ever be better than a cat. You can eat chocolate while petting a cat that's eager to get a bite. Don't give your cat chocolate though, no matter how pleading her eyes are. Or his eyes. Or their eyes. You can wake up in your cozy bed on a crisp winter's morning with a cat smooshed to your face, taking up all space on your pillow, warm and purring. Yes, pure bliss, I tell you. Pure bliss. So yeah. Sorry, Hagrid. I hate you now. You don't like cats.
Yeah.
You're just the worst kind of person.
Who doesn't like cats?
And yeah, there it is again. How do people even remember the Lily's eyes thing? Because humans in this world have such tiny eyes. I might not be in the position to have the right to judge this because I'm horrible at remembering faces. Then again, I'm horrible at remembering most things save for random facts and oddities, but I still find that odd. Everyone says it to Harry. That he looks like James, I get. They're so similar, even I might have been able to see that. But did Lily have very unique eyes? Are they such a stark contrast to James's face?
I like to imagine. We know that her eyes are green, and I like to imagine her having killing curse green eyes, and that would be unique.
Such a lovely, eerily unsettling shade too. Mm-hmm. Something else fan fiction writers like to give Harry. Although it's more often related to the Master of Death thing rather than having Lily's eyes. Like, yeah, he had green eyes before, but now that he's Master of Death, his eyes are killing Curse Green.
What fit?
Or they have always been killing Curse Green because he has always been the Master of Death and time is complicated.
Yeah.
Oh, Ollivander definitely knows Wally's identity. Huh. I never really thought about that.
And I don't think he started the rumor.
Ah, no. And I keep forgetting that Hagrid isn't his first name.
Wait. It isn't? I read the book and I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it's... Everyone calls him Hagrid. Hagrid. It's like...
Hagrid.
Even Draco gets his first name dropped sometimes. It's like, yeah, his name's definitely Draco, not Malfoy, but his first name, I mean. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, wand arm. So here's the thing. I'm right-handed. Mostly, kind of. But my first instinct would be to hold and swish a wand in my left hand.
Same here.
Just like my first instinct would be to hold a dagger in my left hand. Reverse grip, by the way. And a sword would be, well, double-handed because I'm a weakling with noodle arms. But I think I'd also do that with the grip meant for left-handed people. Not that I'm not sure about that. Don't know what grip is what. Anyway, so there are things I can't do with my left hand, like writing and drawing, for example, but there are many things I prefer doing with my left hand. Wand in both hands? How about that, Ollivander? Seems like a useful skill to have in general anyway.
I would like to be able to use my wand with both hands. Thank you very much.
So, Ollivander, the expert, claims the 3 cores he uses produce the most stable ones, and he doesn't look favorably upon other opinions in that regard. See Book 4. To me, that seems awfully narrow-minded. Shouldn't wand making be a craft that evolves and is improved over time, adapting to modern times and techniques and the availability of new materials and all that?
Ollivander is extremely old, so maybe he doesn't want to, and there are not enough people interested in the craft for people to have much of a choice when it comes to where to buy them from. And they seem to be good wands, so they have no reason not to buy Ollivander's wands.
There is a second wand shop down Nocturne Alley, and we know about Gregorich, and it can't be that rare and complicated of a handcraft.
But decent witches and wizards, they don't go down to Nocturne Alley. That is only a thing dark wizards do after all.
Yeah.
And Gregorich might be too far away for the people in Britain to easily get their wands, because who would travel with their 11-year-old child to Gregorich only to get the wand they need for Hogwarts?
So, the core materials. Unicorn hair. Unicorns are pure and innocent. Unicorn hair would wither in my hands. Phoenixes represent rebirth and eternity, I think. Also out, I'm eternally dead, and no phoenix would ever choose me. Which leaves dragons, but that doesn't feel right. So, I'd be...
You wouldn't have a proper wand core. You would need... You couldn't get one from Ollivander. You would need to go to Gregorich.
Yeah, or just go down Nocturne Alley.
Yeah.
Also, how the does he even get those materials? Unicorn hair seems like the most feasible of the 3, and that one doesn't come cheap. Dragon heartstring? Dragons aren't exactly common, nor are they easy to handle, and you want their hearts? The hell?
Did she think that one through? Probably not. Maybe they get it from dead dragons, and the hearts are ginormous or something?
There still are not enough dragons around. Dragons are not common animals. Neither are unicorns and phoenixes, and while the magical community has to be tiny, that's still not enough.
Let's just move on. Or, not really. Red and gold sparks flying from Harry's wand. Were the Gryffindor colors intentional? And now I'm trying to imagine yellow and black sparks. Black sparks sound cool.
Indeed, they do. Huh. You know, I don't remember wands being so short. Not that they are short, mind you. In my mind, 10 inches was on the shorter side of average ones, but Ollivander offers Harry wands of like 9, 7, 8.5, and finally 11 inches. It does make sense. 10 inches equals roughly 25 centimeters, and that is already quite the length. And Wizarding World tells me 9 to 14 inches is average, which is about 23 to 35-ish centimeters. Either end of the spectrum is already too long for a wand holster worn on your arm. Dear fanfiction writers, most certainly too long for a wand holster worn by 11-year-old kids. Just saying.
It certainly wouldn't fit on my arm, and I'm a grown adult, and maybe they are magically enhanced to be longer on the inside?
Or they don't exist in canon in the first place, and that's also the problem.
Huh.
Hagrid, the ticket doesn't tell us everything we need to know. We need to know. Hagrid? Oh, he already left.
Another thing that Hagrid forgot to tell Harry.
Well, moving on to chapter 6. The journey from platform 9 3/4. Time to go to Hogwarts.
Finally!
And Dudley had that pig's tail for a month. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Well, sacrifices had to be made for the Dursleys to drive Harry to London.
Yes, sacrifices had to be made. And in this case, it's Dudley having a pig's tail for a month.
So, Harry woke up at 5 o'clock the next morning. Harry, when did you go to sleep? I thought kids his age went to sleep past midnight like I do. Like, 2 a.m. or even 4 a.m. And people tend to have trouble falling asleep when they're excited from what I've heard, so did he sleep at all?
Well, when I was 11 years old, I didn't go to bed past midnight. From what I remember, which is not a lot, I went to bed at like 9 p.m. and then later on closer to 11 p.m. when I grew a bit older. And sometimes I would stay up till midnight or on very rare occasions till 1 a.m. And then I would have to get up at 5:40 in the morning.
9 p.m.? That's so early.
Is it?
I never went to bed at 9 p.m. at all. Well, okay, to be fair, I never was a child. I never was 11, but I think I would have been the type to go to bed super late. Barely get any sleep during the week, and then sleep throughout the entire weekend.
Sounds like something you would have done.
My undead body can't do that. It needs 10 hours sleep minimum every day to function properly. And 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. is best, but 2 a.m. to noon is acceptable too.
If you weren't living off of my money, you would have to adjust to work hours.
Or do the evening shift.
Either way, having trouble falling asleep when you are nervous, I get that sometimes, not all the time. By now, me not being able to sleep is mostly because of our Toffee darling, or because it's too warm, or just random. Sometimes I don't know why I have trouble sleeping.
Well, so Harry didn't get any sleep.
Poor Harry.
Alright. We all know that you knew who mixed up the train station and the between platforms 9 and 10 thing doesn't work, so moving on.
And how am I supposed to know that when I've never been to London? Technically, I know that she mixed up the train stations, but I tend to forget, so thanks for reminding me.
They arrive at 10:30. Harry starts panicking 10 minutes before 11. So Harry was trying to get to platform 9 3/4 for 20 minutes, and there wasn't a single family bringing their kid to the platform via Muggle entrance. Which, by the way, according to the books, we only ever get to know the Muggle entrance. We don't even know whether there is another one. So it might be the only one.
Can they apparate? Is there flu powder? Is there...
We do not know, because Harry does not pay attention to anything, so everything's possible. There might be other entrances, but this might also be the only one. No clue. Anyway, so these 20 minutes where Harry is running around like a headless chicken seem like the exact time slot everyone would arrive in. There is no way they all blended in so perfectly that Harry didn't notice, no matter how little he takes notice of everything.
Well, maybe it took 10 minutes to get to platforms 9 and 10? I don't know how large the train station is, after all, but that would still leave 10 minutes where supposedly nobody went through the Muggle entrance, which not likely, since Harry is specifically looking for something not Muggle.
Well, Ronan specifically took Harry to the platforms to show him that his doesn't exist, and then left him there.
Oh yeah, so it's just bad writing.
Yep. Molly, how many times have you brought your hundreds of kids to platform 9 3/4? Very convenient of you to forget the number, suddenly.
Very convenient for Harry.
Harry also imprints on the first friendly people he meets.
That's so sad. No one has ever been nice to him. And if they had, the Dursleys made sure they would not be friendly again.
What if it had been a different family? Some nice Slytherins or Ravenclaws or Hufflepuffs? There's definitely fanfiction for that.
What if?
What if it hadn't been Ron entering his apartment on the train? It was really rude, by the way. I don't like that, dude. You're rude. But instead, I don't know, Theodore Nott, or Blaise Sabini, or Daphne Greengrass. How about Susan Bones, or Hannah Abbott, or Justin Finch-Fletchley? Who do we know that got sorted into Ravenclaw in Harry's year? That one Patel twin that got missorted in the films? The dude Ginny dated? That boy you know who said was meant to be Jewish?
I remember Anthony Goldstein and Terry Boot.
Well, yeah, Anthony Goldstein is the one you know who tweeted about being apparently Jewish, but she did not write that in. And the name is too much on the nose for that. Damn, poor Ravenclaw. No one of notice in Harry's year. What about some older students from any house that isn't Gryffindor being nice to Harry? That would have done the trick as well. Actually, how the hell did Harry manage to find an empty compartment less than 10 minutes before the train leaves?
Protagonist powers.
Yeah, I can't refute that. So, we're on the train. Harry and Ron are starting to get to know each other, and Scabbers, and then the trolley lady appears. There should be better food than just sweets available for the children. This isn't healthy. Not everyone has a lunch packed by loving parents, after all.
I agree. I would say some sandwiches, but I don't know how the bread is in the UK.
Well, it depends on where you get your bread from. But the standard sandwiches are... Well, you might not dislike them as much as I do because you're fine with white bread, but I personally do not like them.
There should be something.
Sweets. Do the chocolate frog cards ever get mentioned again? Does Ron ever find Agrippa and Ptolemy, or whatever his name, and complete his collection?
Ptolemy?
Oh, hello, Milden. Ptolemy? Who knows? Merlin mention! Hello, dear Slytherin Merlin.
Yes, and one has 500 chocolate frog cards. Is that realistic? Are there that many famous wizards? And how many chocolate frogs would it take to collect so many cards? Because they are doubles. And yes, one can trade with others, but it must still have been bloody expensive to collect so many. And we know the Weasleys are not that well off. And also, the trio ends up on chocolate frog cards as well.
Maybe Ron's siblings helped him collect? Most likely, you know who messed up her math again. She's notorious for that. Always astounds me how horrible her math has to be for all the mistakes she makes. I get that math is difficult of a subject for most people, even though it's all based on logic and therefore super easy. But you know who takes being bad at math to a whole other level.
Yeah, she does.
Now I want jam-flavored jelly beans. Not marmalade, because I'm not much of a marmalade fan, but jam-flavored? Gimme. And spinach is delicious if you prepare it the right way, Ron. Though I guess Bertie Bott's might be using the not so tasty flavor. So, we now have met Ron and the Weasleys and Scabbers. Neville is next, followed by Hermione. Very important characters all around. For Harry at least. And oh, Hermione, love, please shut up. You're not doing yourself a favor, dear. But you're young yet. You will learn.
Yes, she will. All in due time.
So, yeah, first impressions are not everything, unless you're Harry, but they certainly go a long way. And Draco already messed that up before he knew it. Too late now, Harry has imprinted on Ron and the Weasleys. And Peter woke up just to bite Goyle and then went back to sleep. I wonder what he was thinking.
Who knows? It was fun to read. Yeah. And once we've reached Hogwarts, the firsties all get bundled into boats to travel to Hogwarts. Isn't that cute? Do we? Okay. Do we ever see the underground harbor again? And can you fish there? Not that I would want to, but I'm curious.
Well, we don't see it again. Firsties only, I guess. So.
And how big is the harbor anyway? And can all boats dock simultaneously? And can the giant squid fit in there? But it's at least nice that the first years get escorted, because most first years are probably nervous and excited, and a guide is useful, but then again, they could just follow the older students. I, in that situation, would still be grateful to have a guide.
The second years probably don't get a guide. Not that we'd know, because Harry has to arrive at Hogwarts in dramatic protagonist fashion in book 2, but... Yeah.
But, well, they're 1 year older. They have been to Hogwarts before. They will manage. And also, especially for the first years, it's like they go by a lake, and it's a great view from the lake. So there's that as well.
True. Very much true.
Yes. And now I'm starting to wonder if the giant squid ever attacked the first years on their way to the castle. Imagine all the first years dying before they even start the school year.
Wait, squid? I always imagined it looking like an octopus, a kraken. Damn, my mind totally got the wrong picture there. Anyway, so the squid. Why is it a squid? I mean, squid sounds better, but a kraken would look cool. Anyway, the squid saves, what was his name? Colin? Colin's little brother? From drowning, I believe, in book 3?
I was about to say, if it's the little brother, I mean, Colin gets introduced in book 2, I think. So if it's the little brother, book 3 or later. And the boat ride and guide thingy, it also makes it possible to separate the first years so that they can later come into the Great Hall and get sorted in a very dramatic way. And imagine the first years just following the older students into the Great Hall. Where would they sit? Because they haven't been sorted yet, and there are 4 house tables. Would be chaos, probably. Or a lot of nerves and awkwardness. And I wouldn't want to be in that situation, and that's why you put a system in place that separates them. Thought through for once. Kind of.
But yeah, that's why we separate the first years, so that there's no awkward situation, except for house ghost stuff. Anyway, so we have reached Hogwarts, and we have reached the end of this episode. We will continue with Chapter 7 next month. If you've made it this far, well, thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you. And until the next Harry Potter episode, you can find us on Twitter. Our handle is @TNToffies, and we are also on Spotify for the YouTube watchers.
Or if you're listening to this on Spotify, we're also on YouTube @TNToffies.
And if you enjoyed this episode, as we hope you did, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which house are you in? And then like, subscribe, hit the notification bell.
As always. Same drill, same drill. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.